Why do toxic people keep coming back? Because knowingly or not, you allow them to. You're not addicted to peace, you're attached to the hope that maybe, just maybe, they'll change. But they won't. They're not confused. They're consistent. And here's the truth no one says plainly. The moment you stop justifying yourself is the moment their power begins to fade. You don't need to yell. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to keep trying to be understood by someone who's already decided not to understand you. Let's be clear. You are not a rehabilitation center for emotionally irresponsible people. If someone crosses a boundary and your first instinct is to explain instead of walk away, you're unintentionally training them to disrespect you. You're showing them what you tolerate, and they're taking notes. Toxic people don't crave silence. They crave your reaction. That's their fuel. That's their leverage. The moment you raise your voice, explain your worth, or justify your decisions, you hand them your energy, and they don't care if it's positive or negative. They just want to know they still matter, that they still have access to your emotions. Every time you react, they win, because for them, it's not about truth, it's about control. And the easiest way to keep control is to pull you into chaos. They know exactly what buttons to press, exactly what words trigger you. It's not a coincidence, it's strategy. And the second you engage, they know they still have you in the game. You might think silence makes you weak, but silence, real, intentional silence, is powerful. Because it's not the absence of a response. It's the presence of self-respect. It's the decision not to waste your breath explaining your worth to someone committed to misunderstanding it. Toxic people thrive on drama, confusion, and emotional reaction. But silence is a boundary they can't cross. It's a full stop, a locked door, a firm no more. The most powerful person in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who doesn't need to raise their voice to be heard. You don't need to justify your boundaries for them to be valid. You don't need to argue with someone who's addicted to the fight. And the moment you stop fighting is the moment you reclaim your peace. Every time you explain yourself to someone who thrives on confusion, you lose a little of your clarity. You give them access to a space they were never meant to enter. And once they're in, they rearrange your peace, your priorities, your sense of self. But silence closes the door and throws away the key. They can't manipulate what you don't give them. They can't twist words you never spoke. They can't gaslight emotions you no longer offer for them to distort. When you stop responding, you take away their script. You leave them with nothing but their own reflection. And that's what they fear the most. Because without your energy, they have to face their own. And most of them simply can't. So if you want peace, don't argue, don't announce, don't defend. Just step back, go quiet, disappear from their reach. Let your absence speak for itself. Let them hear your boundaries in the quiet. Because silence speaks. It doesn't whisper, it resonates. It says clearly, you no longer have access to me. And access? That's everything. Stop handing out VIP passes to your life just because someone throws a tantrum when you say no. Start treating your energy like a luxury, because that's what it is. Not everyone gets to be around it, especially not the ones who drain it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for stepping away from what was slowly breaking you. You don't need to sit someone down and walk them through how they disrespected you. They know. They always know. They just pretend not to, because the longer they keep you explaining, the longer they stay in control. Silence ends that cycle. Silence ends the game. It's not passive. It's powerful. It's you choosing peace without asking for permission. It's you saying, I will no longer shrink myself to fit your chaos. This isn't avoidance. It's clarity. It's self-respect. It's protection. Some people will call you cold for going quiet. Let them. They weren't warm when they had access. They'll say, you've changed. Good. That was the point. They'll call you dramatic. You're not. You're deliberate. You've stopped entertaining what hurts you, and that's the kind of peace they can't manipulate. Silence doesn't mean nothing is happening. It means everything is. It means the version of you that over-explained, overextended, and over-tolerated is gone. And what's left is someone who knows their worth, and doesn't argue about it. That's what unsettles them. Because toxic people don't want resolution. They want relevance. And when you go silent, they're erased. Not by accident, but by choice. Your choice. That kind of power? It's irreversible. It's undeniable. It's yours. Stop offering closure to those who only gave you pain. Stop giving your words to those who weaponize them. Peace doesn't come from being heard. It comes from hearing yourself say, "Enough," and believing it. So the next time someone crosses your boundary, don't react. Retract. Pull back your energy. Pull back your words. Pull back your attention. Because where your attention goes, your life flows. And some people no longer deserve to flow through your life. When you stop talking, they start wondering. When you stop defending, they start panicking. When you stop showing up, they realize they were never the center. Just an obstacle in the way of your clarity. You are not obligated to water what's already dead. You are not responsible for making broken people comfortable at the cost of your own well-being. And walking away without a final word? That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's strength. That's power. You are done. And that silence is the sound of freedom. You've been conditioned to feel guilty for walking away from people who never felt sorry for hurting you. You've been taught that choosing yourself is selfish, that distance is cruelty, that silence is betrayal. But here's the truth. The real betrayal is staying in places where you are consistently disrespected. The real damage isn't in leaving, it's in staying too long. One of the strongest moves you will ever make is walking away without guilt. No final conversation. No dramatic exit. No second chances. You don't need to burn bridges. You just need to stop crossing them. The very people who pushed you to your edge will act shocked when you step away. They'll claim victimhood. They'll mourn your absence while ignoring the behaviors that caused it. They'll call you heartless for setting boundaries, even though they were the reason you had to build them in the first place. They'll twist your silence into a story that makes them look innocent. Let them. You don't need to defend yourself when your peace speaks for itself. You've spent enough time trying to be the bigger person, staying kind in the face of cruelty, offering grace to those who used your empathy as a weapon. They drained you, they distracted you, they made you doubt your own clarity. But the moment you walked away without apology, that was the moment you reclaimed your power. That wasn't weakness. That was rebirth. Some will say walking away means giving up. It doesn't. Walking away means you finally got tired of bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. It means you realized your soul isn't a buffet for the emotionally immature to keep returning to. It means you finally understood that peace is worth more than proximity. And peace cannot live in toxic spaces. You don't owe anyone a seat at your table just because they've been there before. Some people belong to your past, not your future. Dragging them into your present is like planting poison in your garden and wondering why nothing grows. Let them go, without guilt, without closure, without needing them to understand. Their understanding is not required for your healing. Your clarity is. When you walk away without guilt, you send a clear message. Your standards have changed. You're no longer the person who tolerates disrespect. You're no longer the version of yourself who needed validation from those who never saw your value. You've grown, and that growth offends those who benefited from your self-neglect. That's why they try to guilt you, because your distance exposes what they never wanted to face in themselves. They'll call you cold. You're not cold. You're finally warm to yourself. They'll say you've changed. You have. That was the goal. They'll say you're unforgiving. But forgiveness doesn't require access. You can wish someone well from a distance and still protect your peace with a locked door. You were never meant to carry other people's chaos. You are not a dumping ground for their dysfunction. You are not their fixer, and you're not required to stay silent just to keep their comfort intact. That isn't love. That's control. Walking away without guilt is not abandonment. It's alignment. It's returning to who you were before they made you question your intuition, before they convinced you that you were too much, too sensitive, too anything. You are not too much. You are simply too awake. for people who preferred you asleep. When you walk away, they may call you everything but healed. Let them talk. Let them spin their narratives. Let them scream into the silence you left behind. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself who had to beg for basic respect. You don't owe anyone a front row seat to your comeback just because they watched your collapse. Some people don't deserve to see you rise. And the more they talk, the more you stay silent, because people will argue with your words, but they cannot argue with your absence. Your absence is power. Your absence is proof. Your absence is the answer to the questions they were too afraid to ask themselves. Your absence is the closure. Your silence is the final word. And your peace is the new standard. You've become the mirror they've been avoiding. So stop apologizing. Stop apologizing for outgrowing environments that expected you to stay small. Stop apologizing for doing what's best for your soul. Stop apologizing for not answering messages that once triggered your anxiety. And stop apologizing for walking away without guilt. That guilt was never yours to carry. If they truly wanted to keep you, they would have treated you with care. If they wanted you to stay, they would have made the space feel safe. If they valued you, they wouldn't have turned your kindness into currency or mistaken your silence for permission. But they did. And now you leave, not out of hatred, but because you finally love yourself. Not out of bitterness, but because you're better off. Not because you're heartless, but because you're done handing your heart to people who drop it every time. Not because you stopped caring, but because caring was slowly killing you. And when you walk away, not in anger, not in revenge, but in peace, you walk into something greater. You walk into boundaries that feel like freedom. You walk into clarity that feels like peace. You walk into rooms where you're respected, valued, and appreciated, not questioned, diminished, or drained. That's what you've been missing. Not their attention, not their approval. Peace. Let them keep the chaos. Let them hold on to the manipulation, the half-hearted apologies, the backhanded compliments, the empty promises. You're done. Done explaining. Done waiting. Done shrinking to fit places that were never meant to hold your light. Done hurting for the sake of keeping the peace. Now you walk away, without guilt, without a speech, without looking back. Because real healing doesn't always make noise. Sometimes it simply looks like leaving.